everyone. My name is Jasmine, and this is my journal. Before we get started on my topic today, I definitely want to say that either today or tomorrow marks the 6 month anniversary of this podcast. I want to thank everybody who has listened in and supported my podcast and listened to me air all my business and dirty laundry. Yep, you guys have helped me through my healing. Just talking to you guys, and then a lot of the people who listen and they hit me back up for feedback or advice on healing tactics. I thank you all, and I appreciate everyone for joining this platform with me and being on this journey with me, because I have some people who listen every single episode and they got feedback every single episode, and it's definitely appreciated. And also for me, because I don't stick with nothing. So for me to stick with something for 6 months and still enjoy doing it, I'm proud of myself. So I got to give myself a little love too. But anyway, today I want to talk about stability. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about manifesting a stable partner. And when I asked her what was her ideal of a stable partner, the first thing she brought up, of course, was money, financial stability, which is understandable. But from her point of view, our point of views differed, where she looked at the amount a person makes. Like, he has to make this amount of money for me to feel comfortable. But when I reflected on that, I realized that there are a lot of people who make a lot of money and they are not financially stable. And when I mean that, I mean they don't know what to do with money, how to handle money, and they're not disciplined. So they're not stable. People can have a steady cash flow and still be broke. So what I did first, because stability can pour into all areas of your life, I went ahead and looked up the definition of stability. So, according to Merriam-Webster, I'm gonna read you two definitions. Stability: the strength to stand or endure, firmness. Another definition is the one I want to stick with: is stability, the property of a body that causes it, when disturbed from a condition of equilibrium or steady motion, to develop forces or moments that restore the original condition. I'm going to say that again. The property of a body that causes it, when disturbed from a condition of equilibrium or steady motion, to develop forces or moments that restore the original condition. So, stability is just the ability to bring yourself back into equilibrium or to keep yourself steady. So, you don't need a lot of money to do that, in my opinion. So when I was thinking about stability in a partner, because I always ask for stability, the first thing is not about like how much money you make. What I look at is, do you have the ability to care for yourself? If you had nobody and if it was just you, can you care for yourself? Do you have the discipline to go to work or make money however you make it and pay your own bills? That's my first thing I'm gonna look at. The second thing I'm going to look at is work ethic, because work ethic, and it does not have to be working for somebody. It could be your own bill, your own business, your own hustle. I don't care. But do you have the ethic to bring in steady income? It don't have to be a lot. Quick story time. I dated a guy a few years back, and he did not have a lot of money. He did not. He worked, but he brought in very little income. But one thing I could say about him is that he knew how to manage what he had. He had his own apartment, he had a car. He taught himself how to fix cars so he wouldn't have to pay a whole bunch of mechanics. He cooked dinner at home every day to save from spending money out all the time. He just knew how to find ways to manage his money. I mean, this dude was even looking in the store papers, looking for ways to save money on food and clipping coupons. At the end of the day, he knew how far his money would go and what he had to do to preserve money in his pocket. And if he needed to get out there to do extra to make money, he was able to do it. And that's what I mean by stability. My first lesson in stability came fairly young. I always had my mother. She always helped me out all the way up until she became disabled. Once she became disabled, she couldn't help me as much, but she was still a sense of support. When she passed away, that's when I knew the importance of stability, because I understood that if anything was to happen, I don't have anyone. My dad is still here, but he's remarried and moved on. My brothers, they're not in a position to help me. I got a few friends that I can call on, but when you got, a whole bunch of children, your help is limited. So what I had to learn how to do is to be very cautious on how I spend money, and also be very intentional on how I make money, if that makes sense. Like if I'm gonna dig a hole, I got a plan to get out. And I got a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just in case the one before the other fails. So stability, I also want to say this, like if you're a partner coming in and let's say for some reason you're disabled, because I don't discriminate. If you're disabled or something hinders you from being able to bring in income, and I take you in and something happens to me, or I hurt my leg and I can't work, or something happens to me to where I can't manage my own finances, do you have the discipline and the ability to manage my stuff? That is what I look at when I look at stability. I would rather you have a stable, low paying job that you've had for years versus somebody who always works high paying jobs, but they're only keeping them for very short amount of times. Because at the end of the day, who fills those gaps when you in between work? That's the way I look at it. Example, at one time I had dated someone, he was in a medical field, and the career field that he had in the medical field, which was in a hospital at the time, he made excellent money. I mean, excellent benefits, excellent money. But when I had asked him the longest time he ever kept a job, I think it was between 9 months and a year, which means his whole entire life, and this man was in his 40s, he never kept a job more than 9 months to a year. Because I was trying to understand, how can you have this great job, but you don't have anything to show for it? You couldn't keep your own place, you couldn't keep a car, you didn't have anything, but you make all this money. I realized it was because he wasn't stable. And it wasn't that he didn't have the stability to be stable, because he could, but for some reason or another he couldn't keep a job, or he couldn't find, lucrative ways to make extra money. So that's important. So it's not always about how much you make. And then I had another friend who been at his job 15 years, but it didn't pay much. But he always kept steady income, which helped him set himself up to where he was able to have an apartment, pay his own bills, and take care of his children. And he had a stable car to drive because he had set that foundation of being stable over the years with the same job or same business. Because I've known people who've maintained their businesses for years. Stability, and I was explaining it to my friend because when we spoke about the stability, all she wanted to talk about was money. And there are other areas in relationships where stability to me is important. And another is mental, spiritual, and emotional stability. And now, calling myself out, one thing I struggled with was emotional stability, because I didn't, sorry, excuse me. I had a difficult time dealing with emotions. And because I had a difficult time dealing with emotions internally, I felt often under attack emotionally because I suppressed a lot. So another question that I have to ask myself as far as manifesting a partner and as far as myself is, how am I emotionally balanced? What is my emotional IQ? So once I really started to look at how I assessed emotions and how I dealt with them, it's starting to help me see things about myself that I needed to work on. But most definitely, I don't want to stabilize my own emotions just to draw a partner in that's not emotionally stable, because it's just going to take me back to where I was before. So those are things you got to look at. And mental stability. How are you mentally? How are you handling this world? This world is hard. How are you handling things mentally right now with the world and how everything is going? So basically, what I'm saying in totality, this is going to be a very short episode, is that when we look at stability, are we looking at all areas? And how do you view stability? Because if you're sitting out here searching for a certain person to make this much money exactly the way you want them and to be able to do this, that's all fine and dandy. But how are they stable in other areas of their life? Because I've dated people who made great, great money, had great livings, nice cars and everything, but I was afraid that I was gonna end up in the trunk somewhere. You know what I mean? I'm gonna disappear. I'm gonna end up dead somewhere. I'm just saying, there's other areas of life that people need to look at when it comes to stability. And I know when I have a lot of conversations with females, like friends, it's all money, 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 money. There's so much more to a person than money. How are they in other areas of their life? I always view relationships from a balanced standpoint, and you can ask any of my exes this. You know, I think I naturally adapt. So when problems happened, I naturally knew how to balance them out, or I naturally had tried to have the ability to kind of go in and make sure things are going. Like if I'm your partner, example, if I'm your partner and I know that you work and I work too, and I knew that you had some extra bills to pay on your part, I'm going to be prepared to balance that out. And there is a way to do that without belittling you, making you feel less of a man or woman, or making you feel dumb or chastising you. But I always knew intuitively when to balance things out. I was in a relationship with somebody who wasn't always the best with money, because at one point in his life he was used to fast money, but when he had to slow down and work, he had to learn that balance, which over the years he's got much better with it. But I naturally knew when to say, hey, I need to go in here and I need to balance it out. So that's important too, that stability. So just the relationship as a whole, especially if y'all both have children and y'all both have a family, things happen. When things happen, can y'all get together and bring things back into equilibrium? And that's stability. You do not have to have a lot of money to have a stable relationship. It's about managing what you already have in front of you. This is what I have, and this is how I manage it. And then that's what I have to tell people about myself when it comes to my personal life. Like, I had a male tell me, you work too much. I can't keep up with you. And I'm like, well, this is what I have, and this is what I have to do to manage what I have. You know, I got 5 children, and even though 2 or 3 of my children are adults, one is still in high school, one's still home, and the other two, they're away, but I still help them because they're not completely independent yet. So because of that, I have to do what I have to do to remain at a state of equilibrium, which is I still have to support them a little bit, which my adult children, I want to put this out there, they do very well with supporting themselves. They learn well, but they still need help. My mother still supported me. You know what I mean? And then I still have to take care of my younger kids, and I still have a home with bills that since I'm single, I have to cover by myself. And that is stability. If I had a partner to come in and balance things out, whether it be things around the house or things with the kids or things with money or emotionally or spiritually or mentally, then I know how to scale back enough to balance that out. I'm not rigid if I trust you. Because if my intuition tell me, nah, boo, you just keep on moving. I'm going to keep on moving. That brings me back to before I go. Listen to yourself. I'm just telling yourself, don't lie. Quick story, and then I'm out of here. I promise. I dated a guy before, And I will never forget, he was like, Jasmine, you work too much. He said, cut back to 2 days a week and I will cover the rest of your bills and, spend more time with your kids, do this, do that. You know what I mean? You're a great cook. Tired of eating pizza every other day. You'll be home more. You can cook, boom. Something in my gut was like, nah. But I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'm just gonna try it. I said it through clenched teeth, like I'm gonna try it. And I did. So for 2 whole months, I worked 2 days a week, which brought my income down from probably over 5 a month to roughly 15, 17, something like that. So it was much lower than it was at that time. I ain't big money now, but at that time, which five isn't really big money either, but it's better than where I've come from. But anyhow, he did all right for the first month. I was like, okay. It's that second month. That second month, I realized like he got paid, and I knew something was due. And I'm looking at him, and he didn't have me anything. So he came in with some story about something happening to his check. But he came in with a bag full of shit. Like, I knew he had to buy one of his kids some shoes, and I never stop anyone from taking care of their kids. I'm big on that. If you mess with me, you getting them damn kids. Okay. I dated someone who was estranged from their kids for years. We went to find them kids. I don't play about the kids. To this day, my ex, he has a great relationship with their kids, but I don't play about the kids. And he had to buy his daughter some shoes. Okay. So I didn't expect as much. But then he came in with like some new jewelry. I mean, he just had some shit. So I'm like, he said, yeah, something happened to my check. I was like, okay, okay. I said, well, where you get all this new stuff from? I was just inquiring. He's like, oh, my mom bought it for me. I was like, okay. But little did he know, his mom had borrowed $50 from me the day before. So I knew she couldn't have bought that. She didn't have it. And his mom was one of those people. She's very careful about how she spent her money. So she borrowed $50 from me. She really didn't have it. But I didn't say anything. So a few weeks later, I'm cleaning up the room. Mind you, Bill's behind by now because he hadn't given me any money. Like he gave me like very little. It wasn't enough to even cover a utility. And here I am with my little bitty money. My whole check just had to go to utilities. But the big bill was coming due, rent. So I'm like, the rent coming up. He was like, okay, I got it. I got it. So finally, it comes time to pay rent. Rent's not quite yet late yet. One thing Willa Mae, rest in peace, taught me how to do is to always have a plan B all the way down to Z. Of course, I had my rent put up somewhere. I didn't tell him that though, but I went on ahead and paid my rent because I do not like to pay my rent, car note, or insurance. Those big bills, I don't like to pay those late because when you get in a hole with those, it's hard to catch up. Or utilities that need to stay on. I don't like to. I pay those on time. I'm real fickle about them. I pay them on time. So one had I paid the money I had hidden or saved up or whatever. So I sat down and talked to him, and I was like, what happened to the rent money, everything? Oh, this man lost it. He was like, I mean, you're a nurse. Why don't you go work extra hours whenever you know that? And I'm looking at him like, you told me you had it. You know what I mean? And you don't. He's like, well, I don't. Stuff. Something happened to my check. Extra child support came out. So I was like, okay. I just kind of let it be. I said, well, maybe he feels bad. He's going off on me because he feels bad because he wasn't able to do it or whatnot. I'm like, okay. So time passes, and one day I'm cleaning the bedroom. Clean up the bedroom. I had already talked to my boss and told her, like, hey, go ahead and put me back to full time. Because like I said, all he bought was himself. So if he left, all he had to worry about was himself. He when you some men, like if your kids live with their mama, you ain't gotta lug them around with you. It's only you. But when you a mother and you got custody of all your kids, and there are men out here that have custody of their kids too. So y'all too, they gotta go where you go. So I went on here and told my boss, like, put me back up to full time because I got bills to pay. I don't have time to, depend on somebody who's not consistent. I'm cleaning up my room and I found the receipts for all that jewelry he bought. And I knew his credit card number by heart because he used his bank card to pay bills. And at the bottom of the receipt, last four digits of all the receipts, all that stuff was his bank card. Also, his pay stubs and his bank statements were connected to my email. So why lie? You know I have access to all that, and I go look. Wasn't nothing extra coming out of his checks. He was lying, and he bought all that jewelry and stuff with his own money, which he could do what he wanted to do with his own money. But if you have bills in your home, you gotta pay your bills first. I can't eat a gold necklace for dinner. So that's what I mean when I talk about consistency and stability. And that's why I knew right then that I had to go back to work, pick my hours back up to bring in more money so that I could get caught up with the bills we got behind because I trusted him. When I should have listened to my gut, and my gut told me, hold out. Prime example. But anyhow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening in. Again, if you have any ideas on what's stability to you, I would like more interaction. If you're listening in on Spotify, there's a little, or Anchor, there's a little question mark button that you can hit at the bottom, and you can send me a comment or you can ask me a question. You can also email me at jazzthemedium@gmail.com and let me know what you think about it, because I want to talk about this. And I'll bring up your question on another episode if you want me to. If this is YouTube, you can also leave a comment in the comment section. I read all my comments because I don't get that many. Leave a comment in the comment section and we can discuss what does stability mean and look like to you. And I'm talking all areas of life. And I promise I'll do another episode and I'll bring it to the forefront because I think this is something that we need to discuss. Anyhow, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you 11 times in the morning, 11 times in the evening. Always love on yourself. Peace.